Hey, hey,
お願いします。
お願いします。There you go. Get up and down. And hit side to side. And ears to shoulders. Shoulder. Circles one way. And circles the other way. So, hey, arms going forward. Arms going back. Stretch one side. The other side. Cross. And cross. Open and close. Nice, Rocky. Hey, I'm tight. Hey, hop. Taking cheek. Yoko. Hey, breathing in. Ko. Ki. Ko. San. Ki. Ko. Hey, hello. Oh. Hey. change. Oh. Hey, back. Hey, outside, inside, outside, inside, and back. The legs in front of your legs. And behind and in front. Hey, down. Hey, knees for the back. Circles, all right. Circles the other way. Sideways. Oh, front, back, front, front, back. Open toes. Front. Hey, go. Weird. Open your legs, lower your hips. That's inside. That's outside. Inside and outside. And pivoting one side. And so. And the other side. Hey. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. And forward. Back. Hey. Hips up. And spine up. Circles. And the other side. Right side. Hey, Cossack. Side. Cossack, the other side. One side. And the other side. One side. And change. Other side. Opening. Goes down. Oh. Hey. Forward. And hips back. Forward. Hips up. Hips down. Hips up. Remember to push your heels down and to tuck your head inside. And hips down. Hips up, heels down, and head down. And out. And back. So from your knees, got a few basic mobility drills from your knees. So the basic one, cat cow. Oh. Oh. Few times, cat cow. So the next one, and hand up and through this gap and stretching one side. The other side, up and through and stretching. One more time, up, through, stretch. One more, up and through, stretch. Wait, as one, knee in front, hands down, hand all the way up, breathing out, and hand all the way down, breathing in, breathing out. All the way up, all the way down. All the way up, all the way down, all the way up, down. Last one, up, down. And change side. And up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. One more, up and down. And back stretch. Turn one side, and the other side. Medium level, one side, and the other side. Lower level, one side, and this side to side. Standing up, please. Unakogi. Hidari hand Akamai, left foot, forward. Hands in front. Hey. Yee, ho, 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 yee, so go. Hey, right, put in front. So, Isa, 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 Isa. So, go. Go. Hey, all right. So this week is our fourth week of the month. So during the month, we have been working and exploring the some anatomical systems that are more in demand when training the way Manuel Sensei wants us to train. So we started the month with the exploration of our core muscles in a vertical structure all the way, from from our core muscles to our pelvic area. And then we, on the second, and also in a horizontal sense, front muscles, obliques, and back muscles. And then on the second week, we talk a lot about the use of our lower body and the different shapes and positions that are required in training and that are very obvious when you study Manuel Sensei and the way he moves. And then the last week we were talking about what was last week?
Structure.
No, the last week was hip and spine. Okay, so last week we were talking about the hip and the spine for our training. Obvious important uh, elements of our anatomy to always consider and always bring into participation. Actually, they should be leading all the motions. And then the rest of the body should be leading the motions of the hip and the spine. And then this week we are talking about skeletal alignment. So the idea that behind all of this, there is a basic structure that needs to be constantly refined and constantly present in order for us to perform our task. So even when you even when you sit, a basic element of skeletal alignment is the alignment of the pelvic area with your spine, with your skull, effectively with the head, right? So that's why sitting, it's our basic sitting, sometimes what we call kind of posture. And what we refer with posture is basically good alignment of three skeletal areas, which is the pelvic, the hip and pelvic area, with the spine in whatever condition you have, with the skull, with the head. It is when we get a bit of a what's called that bubbly head, that the alignment is breaks between between your spine and your skull. Yeah, I'm talking about skull specifically because that's the skeletal part of the body, right? So your head involves maybe many systems, but we're talking about specifically your skull, your spine, and your pelvic area. So that's possibly one of the first things that we come to try to align when we sit, in correct alignment. When we bring other areas. Sometimes it's difficult to think about the skull and things like and the spine. So that's when other areas of other parts of the body become points of reference. For example, when you say you have to align your ear with your shoulder with your hip, So basically, I say, well, your ear, which is attached to the skull, your shoulder, that's where shoulders. If shoulders are too rounded in one direction or another direction, they do not reflect properly the position of the spine. That's why a bit more of a natural shoulder position is a better reflection of the position of the spine. But anyway, so it's the shoulder and then the hip. But again, ear, shoulder, hip is just another way of saying, more importantly, skull, spine, hip. Okay, so that's one of the elements on which we work. Couple of things in terms of our skeletal alignment that are important pointers for training always. Remember, when Bruno Sensei presents his hanmi, he not only presents a hanmi that it is 50-50 distributed between front foot and back foot. Okay, he moves into what is the front foot. What is the front foot body weight? 70% to 30%, right? Well, his hanmi is 70% to 30%. Okay, so hanmi 70 to 30, hanmi 70, 30. So in that sense, we are kind of being forced to connect all the way to the floor through the structure of our leg into our body. If Elena comes here, I'm going to kind of move a little bit sideways on my hanmi. Hanmi, you are basically square between you and your partner, your hips and your shoulders. But in this case, just to test, I'm going to give my shoulder. She puts her hand on my shoulder and then she pushes. Ideally, what she should be pushing into is into my leg. Okay, so ideally, what happens is if that alignment does not exist, right, and I, let's say, get up here and narrow my hanmi, if she pushes to my shoulder, now she's pushing into my shoulder, into my back. So now I need to counter that a little bit, I need to counter that with some exercise of my shoulder because there is no skeletal alignment. If I open my leg, lower my hips, extend my leg, and she pushes, now I don't need the shoulder motion in order to counter that because obviously she's traveling all the way down to the floor. So when we enter, for example, in things like Ikkyo, Shonguchi, and I enter into Ikkyo, okay, that's why that position is important because if she pushes with this arm, what she should feel is a very similar feeling of if she pushed to my shoulder, sensation of the structure that she's finding behind. So she enters into Shonin-uchi, and then the Hobikyo, and Sensei always has a very strong position. We spoke about that with the legs, or skeletal alignment, right? So, so just remember that that's why, in essence, your hanmi presents many things, but your hanmi is that position where your skeletal alignment is in motion to it. Funny, not funny enough, but during the week we had a new person who was just practicing something very simple as stepping back, right? And in the action of stepping back, unfortunately, in one step back he twisted a little bit his own ankle. So twisting of ankles, for example, is what happens when we don't have alignment in that particular section of our foot. But partially was because, and despite me trying to explain this, even when we go backwards, we try to keep that 70%, 30%, 70%, 30% kind of feeling of the weight. What happens when we don't train and we go backwards is that we almost go the other way around. We go 70% back, 30% at the front. Now, if we are putting more weight on the back of my back foot than on the front, and if in the moment that I'm traversing, putting that weight, my foot is a little bit out of alignment, what's going to happen? I'm going to twist my ankle because I'm putting the weight on the back, and because I'm not properly aligned on my ankle, so I'm going to hurt my ankle, right? So, okay, so let's just practice that for a second from your hanmi position. Step back, and keep your weight at the front, even you moving backwards. Step back, same thing. Step back, same thing. Step back, same thing. Stepping forward. Forward should be more or less natural because your weight moves forward with the direction of the body, but that should be okay. Okay. But back, it will sometimes get a bit confusing because my energy wants to go to my back foot. So get in front, get in front, get in front. Okay. Several years ago, it happened to you the same thing, but with a turn. When you turn violently, okay, then your energy also is charged to the back, and then the back foot can take that, especially if you don't have a strong alignment on your knee. So when you turn, okay, the ankle is a problem because that's what happened that time. With a very strong turn, this ankle gave in, but also with your knees, and this is something I'm trying to explain to people when they come the first time, especially when I'm encouraging them to lower their hips. When we do that, what's happening with your knees is that your knees obviously are doing that, your knee is doing that, and then comes the motion. Now, as long as the bottom part and the top part of the knee are moving in harmony, are moving together, aligned, no problem. The problem is when we open and then one part of the knee moves and the other part of the knee stays. That's when we have meniscus tearing or meniscus biting and things like that. So, okay, same, lower your hips, okay, and keep your alignment of your bottom part of your leg and your top part of your leg. Change foot, lower your knees, and move. And same thing, weight on the front foot, back foot is aligned, top part of the leg and bottom part of the leg stay aligned. To the side, move, and turn, and change, move, turn, change, move, turn, change, move, turn, change, lower, turn, change, lower, turn, change, lower, turn, change, lower, turn. Yeah. So again, we take these things for granted, but just he's fine after that day. He kind of had a small twist. This person that he just started at dojo, but they should just remind me again how many things we do take for granted in the way that we move, which are not necessarily obvious, right? Or easy to understand. So very important to keep good, strong, alignment on your ankle when you're moving backwards. Good, strong alignment on your ankle when you move backwards, and try to put not too much weight on the back foot. You do that by focusing more on the front leg. Okay, when you're moving forward or backwards, or when you move in circular shapes like a Mawariyashi step. Okay, so that's just a very basic alignment in terms of the back. We did a few days. We haven't gone back to that technique, but we were doing a technique where I would grab the person and the person was being tripped over my own leg, and in order to do that, we just did a little bit of a game. I started with the smaller people in the dojo, and then we climb up to the bigger people in the dojo, where I asked them to sit on my knee or sit on my leg, and then eventually stand up on my leg. So the point was that as long as this leg, the ankle in my leg is in a good 90-degree position, and the knee on my leg is in a good 90-degree position, that structure is as strong as it's going to get. If the angle of my ankle and the angle of my leg kind of change in any direction, then I obviously weaken the structure of my leg. So it's not the same thing to ask somebody to sit or stand on my leg in this position versus me, doing the same in this position or doing in this position. So even when you get up, into your action, make sure to use as good structure as possible in order to kind of move forward. So let's just check out the structure that you're basing getting up. Remember, you're not getting up vertically, okay? It's a little bit more inefficient. You're moving forward and taking a step back. But again, if you are too far, for example, in that action, and you try to do the same, by the time you start to carry up, you will be too far from your point of contact. If you are too close, okay, and you try to move the same thing is going to be problematic. So, try to start in a place where that position, that way, when we get older, okay, all of us, is not unreasonable to say, well, that's my good structure. I support myself on my own leg, and then I get up. Yeah, good. That's okay. That's a good thing. And on the way out down, the same thing. I support myself, and I get down. But that means that I'm supporting myself on a structure that is properly aligned. Okay, so you have to do that. If you don't need to do that, just use your momentum to go forward with the structure on your leg. Okay, one, back, two, back, three, back, four, back, five, Change to the other side. One, back, two, back, three, back, four, back, five, back. Remember that every time that we do things like that, there are three anatomical systems that try to work in harmony as much as we can. One of them is obviously the muscular system. So I do need certain strength on my leg in order to be able to do that. That's why several exercises in your strength and conditioning program, the single leg squats, the pistol squats, and the one leg exercises like that, they are all important because yes, there is an element of muscle requirement that is important to develop. That's system number one, your muscular system. System number two is your skeletal system. Doesn't matter how strong a muscle is, it's only as good, as efficient as the skeletal structure behind it. Okay? If the skeletal structure is out of alignment, doesn't matter how developed, well, sort of though. To a certain extent, the strength of a muscle group can compensate, at least temporarily, poor skeletal alignment. So that is true, right? So, but it cannot do it for a long, sustained period of time. So the more, the better your skeletal alignment is, the more efficient and effective is going to be your muscular operation. So that's number two, so your skeletal system. And number three is your respiratory system. Okay, so you breathe in, you breathe out. You breathe in, you breathe out. Yeah. So by using your respiratory system correctly, not only encouraging the pumping of the heart and the sending of the blood to the areas of the body that require the blood, but you are also contracting and relaxing certain muscle groups that are not directly related to this exercise. For example, the leg. The actual muscle group in the leg maybe is not terribly directly impacted by it, but you are directly impacting other muscle groups, in this case, your abdominals, which are required in order to perform things in a more effective or efficient way. So you have those three systems, your muscular system, your skeletal system, and your respiratory system. And the whole point of training, I think every art in general, is to bring harmony, okay, Aikido, to bring harmony between these three systems, at least in a very mechanical sense, okay? So you may have deficiencies in skeletal structure or in muscular strength, and so on. So you have to definitely work on those, but ideally try to work on those two things. So let's do it one more time, and let's again start from a good skeletal structure. Breathing in, breathing out, down, breathing in, breathing out, up, down, in, up, back, in, up, back, one more, in, up, back. That's a really good point, Irena, in terms of the use of the other part of the body to harmonize with the action. It's more difficult, definitely, what I was doing, to not use the lower body, the upper body, and just exclusively focus on the upper body. So that's more difficult. Eventually, one thing that we also need to bring harmony of is what you were doing, which is using the upper body in order to assist structurally in terms of balance and mentally the action of the lower body. So that's a better use of integrating your whole body. So what Irena was doing is something that we spoke also often, that although the upper body in this case is not really directly participating on the lifting, the strength and the structure comes from the lower body, it can structurally and in terms of balance support the action of the upper body, and that is by compensating, and participating harmoniously in the movement that we're trying to do. And that's really important because most of the exercises that we do will be initially created and powered by the lower body, and the upper body is there supporting that motion. Very different to the way that we normally train, which is we leave all the work to the upper body. So it's a good idea to use your hands as you were doing to create balance and to create the momentum that sometimes also benefits this type of motion. So 1, down, 2, down, 3, down, 4, down, 5. Good. Okay. So anyway, so just remember that those three systems, the respiratory, the muscular, and the skeletal, have to find harmony in the way that they operate with each other in order to make our movements more effective and more efficient in that sense. And that then also, regardless of the muscle group that you are directly using, in this case the legs, there is the participation of other areas of the body that can support in terms of momentum, in terms of balance, okay, in terms of coordination into the action that you are performing. So please keep that in mind. So one last thing that we were doing a lot, and it's just something for us to continue being aware of, is the fact that whenever I'm trying to push or to move a body, into certain positions, there are only 3 places where I can be in relation to that body, or that body in relation to me, depending how you want to see it. So the body can be in front of me, okay? The body can be aligned to me, or the body can be behind me. Like basically, in 90%, 95% of our techniques, that's usually the way it goes. Keep throws and Koshinagas follow a similar idea, just in a different plane. But for the moment, just stay with most of them. So in front of me, align me, or behind me, right? So the idea is that if I want to move a body, I should be, I should be always as much as possible behind the body. So the basic example was that if Irena is here, right, and I am in front of her, and I want to move her, then this pull me is going to be very, no, stay there, don't move, thank you. Okay, you move that pull or that push, sorry, is going to be really difficult. If I am aligned to her and I do the same thing and I try to push her, it's going to be, I feel a little bit better, maybe I have a better chance, but it's still not ideal. But if I'm behind her and she's in front of me, then that's it. Now she has no chance because she's in the correct position. Okay. We did, for example, something with Katate Dori Uchi, Uchi, Kokinage. Okay. So with Katate Dori Uchi Kokinage, it's the same thing. When I am here in Katate Dori and I open my hand. Now, this is where we sometimes have to be careful. If I open my hand and I'm a bit lazy with my entry, this arm is in front of her. This arm can be in front of her, can be on the side here, or can be behind her, right? The more I shoot for the hand to be behind, the more I'm stealing her strength. The more I keep her with her hand in front, the more now I depend that she's not awake to pull me, because in that position she can pull the strongest. So when I try to go under, she's going to maximize the pull. If I go to the side, it's not as strong, but she still has the capacity to pull sideways. If I go behind, that capacity has been compromised as much as is anatomically possible to do the motion. And that is because the rule or the understanding that front, side, back, okay, on position. When you throw, you always want to be behind the point of contact that you throw. So finish up, let's just practice with a very basic technique of that, which will be Ripo, but that happens with everything. Ripo, Eliminage, Ikkyo, Kotegaeshi, we did Kaitenage, we did a whole bunch of things during the week. Or Ripo, you pivot here, you keep it in front of your body, and then you pivot back into the direction that you set. Breathing in, breathing out, in, 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 out. Very quickly with kite and nage, for example, Sekeletal here. Let's say you bring your partner down, you cut, you are about to project in kite and nage. Your partner has to be in front of you. That doesn't mean that has to be far from you. Those are two different things. It has to be in front of you, and in that fronting, then you can step in. What happens sometimes with kite and nage is that we are here, the partner is behind us, and then we try to step. That's never going to work, or it's more difficult to work because now your partner is not in front. You are not in front. You are not behind. Your partner is not in front of you in order for you to proceed with the technique. So, but careful that in front doesn't mean far from you. Okay. Sometimes people, in order to keep things in front, they confuse them and they just say, well, it has to be in front, but far. No. It has to be in front from you, but still within the area of your body that you can exercise control. Okay. So let's just finish with kite and nage. So, Sekeletal, step back, cut, vertical, in front of your center of gravity. Keep it in front of there and make a big step. And make it forward. The other side, step back, cut, big circle in front of your center of gravity. Keep it there. And a big step forward. Front, step back, cut, up, in front of your center of gravity. And big step forward. Very important that we don't leave it behind, because what's going to happen is this: they're going to end up in front of you, and then the feet are going to move, but your arms are not going to move, and then you're going to leave the person behind. So leave always the person in front of you. Step the hand, control, up, okay, and keep it in front of your center of gravity. Okay, and back, down, up, in front of your center of gravity. To the side, back, cut, up, in front, center of gravity. Couple more, back, up, in front, center of gravity. Last one, back, up, control, in front, center. So, again, so maybe just let's keep working on those couple of ideas. Number one, make sure that you have a good skeletal structure that harmonizes with your muscular needs in that area and with your respiratory system as well. That's basic Aikido for us because of the harmony of these systems. And number two, be careful to always have, the point that you want to project in front of you, not sides to you or worse, behind you. Okay, so be patient, because very quickly we lose that alignment with our technique. Okay, so hopefully those two things help us a little bit better to keep our skeletal structure properly aligned. Okay. Great. Hey. ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。そう。